Hey family, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to discuss 10 things that you can do to upgrade your home that will not cost you a lot of money just to make some changes. So if you want to learn how to update your home in 2023, go ahead and continue watching this video and you will learn a thing or 10. If this is your first time seeing me, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. On this channel, we do interior design, we do lifestyle, and we do DIY. So if that is what you're looking for, go ahead and stick around and join the family. This year, guys, please, let's chop it up in the comments. Tell me things that you would love to see on the channel. Ask me questions. I will respond. I respond to all questions that are asked. So go ahead and leave your questions down below so that we can have a fun time on this channel. Let's do better in 2023, and we are pressing forward. Okay, guys, so there are some things that you can do in your home to upgrade your home that would make your space feel not brand new, but it will lift up the space. And some of them will definitely make your space feel brand new. It's not all the time that we have to go out and buy brand new furniture and, change out our whole sofa or whatever. We don't have to do that all the time. Sometimes we can switch stuff from one room to the next. And I've told you about that before. So let's get into it. And let me give you 10 quick tips that you can use to update your home. Tip number 1, changing out your paint color. So you can change out your paint color in a space. If you normally have a very dark color, when I'm talking about dark colors, guys, even though black is a dark color, it is still a neutral color. Okay, so most of the times when I'm speaking of a dark color, I'm not necessarily speaking about black. Okay, in those instances, I will mention it. But when I say dark colors, maybe you have an entire room, let's say a bright turquoise color or an orange, or even a bright blue or something, or a yellow. Like if you have those colors in a space, those colors will definitely date your space. I'm not asking you, I am telling you. Those colors would eventually start to date your space. If my advice to my clients, my advice to you guys, my family, is to always try to keep your walls very neutral. And if you keep your walls neutral, you don't have to be updating them. You can just update the things that is in that space, okay? Now, I'm not telling everybody to go white neutral, but you could do accents like a black accent. I told you my last video that brown is in this year, and I will show you guys. I forgot to pop it in last time. I hope I don't forget this time, so let me not promise. But I am going to try to pop in the colors that are going this year. Again, I am not a trendy person, but I do see this particular brown. I do see it working continuously, working beyond. Okay, so the one main thing that you can do in a space is to paint your space. It might also just be you need a touch up. Maybe your walls are very dirty. Now, let me give you this tip since we are on painting. Now, if you're putting paint on high traffic areas, like probably coming down a staircase or something, you don't want to use a flat paint. Let me explain to you why builders use flat paint. Builders use flat paint because it hides imperfections. That's the reason why you were going to majority of homes, new builds and stuff, and you would see flat. The sheen, the base is a flat base. It's because it hides imperfection. The minute you start to add any sheen to that color, it is going to show any imperfection that there is in the wall. So that's why they use flat. The next thing why they use flat is because it is cheaper to have flat. But it's that much cheaper that they can't just go ahead and use a sateen. Okay? Now, if you're in a bathroom, you definitely do not want a flat paint in your bathrooms. No way, no how, because the flat paint is not going to block that moisture that you're going to receive in bathrooms. So in bathrooms, you always want to stick with at least a semi-gloss in your bathrooms. Minimal, I would take chance with a sateen, but it has to be like from a good brand company. Okay, I'm not going to mention any brands on here because I am not giving no free promotions. No, we ain't. Next. So that is what you want to do, okay? Keep away from the flat paint unless it is, I would say in bedrooms, you use flat paint, but don't use it like in your corridors. Don't use it in your kitchen. Don't use it definitely in your bathroom. It's a big no-no in your bathrooms. The second thing that you can do to upgrade your space is declutter. Yes, I'm back with that again. I'm back with it again. Declutter. Declutter. And let me tell you the trick in decluttering. Some people have a very difficult time decluttering. Like if they have shelf with stuff on it, they have a very hard time decluttering the stuff on their shelf. Let me tell you what you need to do. You need to remove everything. Do not remove or do not clean around or go and pull one or two things. Take everything off. No matter what surface or what area you're trying to declutter, remove everything. Remove everything from that surface and one by one start placing back those necessary things or those things that are adding some kind of feature to that piece. The stuff that you're going to get to a point where you feel like, oh, that looks nice. And I can show you guys, I will pop in and show you guys my shelving in my living room. Before, I wasn't happy with it. And I used to always tell you guys, I'm not happy with my shelves in my living room. I felt like it was just too much going on. And I know I need to simplify it. But I knew it was going to take me some time to simplify because I needed to take everything down. And then the things that I were not putting up, I needed to find somewhere to put those things. So I did start by removing everything from that shelf, from the shelves, because I have two sides I have to deal with. And I start putting stuff back and my eyes told me when to stop. Your eyes will definitely tell you when to stop. So you want to declutter your spaces. Remove the unnecessary things and some certain things that you think are half necessary. Probably try to store them versus displaying them. Number 3. The third thing that is making your space look dated is dark colors. Now we're talking dark colors like greens, hunter greens, burgundies, reds, purples. These dark colors, even that gunmetal color gray right now is starting to make spaces look very dated. Remove those colors out of your space. And let me give you another paint tip when you're removing dark colors. You want to prime that wall first. And when you're priming the wall, when you go to buy your prime, if they tell you that it will take it out, you don't have to tint it, do not believe them. The paint that you will have to pay to do that would be pretty expensive. And most of us go to Home Depot or Lowe's and get our paints, right? So ask them to tint the paint, tint the primer to a gray. It could be a light gray, not a dark gray. You want a medium color gray. Tint that paint. So because what gray does is gray becomes a neutral color. So your new color would, the trueness of the new color will show. Versus if you try to paint, let's say this color that you're seeing on my wall, this white, if you try to paint that over a red, the hue of it is going to start to look very pink. Even after you put 2 layers, 3 layers, it's not going to be the true color. That's the reason for the primer, and that's the reason for tinting the primer. Now, if you're painting a wall and you're going from one shade of white to another, you don't need a primer, okay? So when you're removing the dark colors, let's try and use a primer, or not let's try, please use a primer and ask them to tint your primer for you to a light gray color so that you can remove that dark color out and you will get the true color for your new color that you're trying to put into your space. Another paint tip that I'm going to give you is never look at a color in the store and think that it's going to work in your space. Colors change according to the lighting in your space. So if you have bright light in your space, it could change a warm color to look more cool. If you have warm lights in a space, but you're using a cool color, it will change that color to look more warm. Always come and put a test of that color in your space with your lights on. See it during the day and see it at night when you have to use lights. So that is the tip on using color in your space. But let's get rid of those dark colors in your space. They are dating your home. Tip number 4, remove large cabinetry. I would definitely pop those in for you. Remove those out of your space. They are dating your space. Some of us are trying to update our space. Some of us have become very contemporary and very minimal, but we're not seeing that this being presented in our space. And the reason is because we're holding on to some cabinetry that maybe was handed down by a grandparent or whatever. Maybe put it in a different space where you don't value that space as more of your show space in your home, that space that's going to make you feel like, yeah, I did that. Yeah, I'm happy with my home. Yeah, this looks nice. Move those things out of that space. Try to replace them with some kind of credenza instead. If you love thrifting, when you get your thrift piece, try to update it so it will be more contemporary, have a more minimalistic, modern feel versus the traditional. Anytime you have the real, true traditional with all the embellishment and the heavy wood colors and stuff, it will definitely date your space. A lot of us like to have these cabinetries, we call them showcases, in our dining rooms, and our dining room is not matching what we have going on in the rest of our house because that piece is dating it. So if you have no attachment to the piece, if you don't find that you can maybe paint that piece, you can do something updated to make it look more to the direction that you're going to go. You want the piece to look very transitional, right? So if you feel like it's not going that direction, then try, if you can afford it, try to replace that piece. Try to sell it. If you can sell it, use the funds to help you buy another piece. But let's get rid of those big chunky cabinets that we have in our spaces that is making our spaces look dated. Number 5, your flooring. Okay? You can update tiles by changing the grout. There are pens now that you can use to change the color of your grout. You can clean the grouts and see if that helps to update your floors. But I want you to always know that you have an option when it comes to tile floors. You don't have to stick with a tile floor if that's not what you want anymore. We have options now. There's something called a floating floor. So you can definitely use a floating floor on top of a tile floor. You don't have to dig your tiles up. Put the floating floor on top of it. LVP, you have wooden floors. You can put them right on top of your tiles. It's called a floating floor. So let's try doing that versus taking those tiles up. But if you want to just update your space, you can do that as well. Along with your carpet. Your carpeting, if your carpeting is extremely old, they do have a lifespan on them, just like your mattress do. They have a lifespan. So let's try to update our carpets when needed. If you want to remove those carpets, if you see that they need removing, if you have shampooed them over and over, they're still dating your space, you need to get new carpets. It's also a health issue as well because they're going to hold a lot of fungal and stuff like that in them, especially for people who have sinus issues and stuff like that. You know, they shouldn't have like really old carpets and old mattresses and stuff like that. So Let's update our carpets in our space. Or another thing that you can do with carpet, if your carpet doesn't look that old, but you just feel like, okay, I just have, normally homes have like a big off-white color carpet, but you don't feel like it's really hitting it for your furniture, especially if you live in an apartment as well. What you can do is put an accent rug. And we spoke about rugs in my last video. So you can put an accent rug on top of that carpet. That is definitely okay. We do it all the time in the design world. Again, your carpet needs to anchor your furniture. Do not think you can get away with putting a small carpet under your coffee table and say, well, the rest of the space have carpet. No, honey, you're wrong. That rug under the coffee table needs to anchor your furniture. Okay? So do not use that as an excuse, because it's still a big no. The next thing about flooring that I want to discuss is having too much different floorings in your space. So you're in your kitchen, you have one flooring. You go to your dining room, there's a different flooring. You go to your living room, there's a different flooring. The flooring need to transition from one space into the next. The only space that I normally would give an okay to is your kitchen. Most people, like myself, prefer to have tile in the kitchen. That's just me. Because I knew how my kids was and water getting, like, I just didn't want to have to manage none of that. So I prefer to have tile in my kitchen. But if I'm doing a space for a client, I would definitely encourage them to have the entire space as one floor type. Okay, so definitely you want to not have like 3 different floor transitions throughout the same space, because it's going to date the space. It's going to look like a mistake happened. That's what it's going to look like. It's going to look like either they ran out of money, they ran out of material, or something. Or probably they're still trying to update this space. So let's not have all these transitions of flooring in your space. Number 6. Let's update the stain finishes on our wooden pieces. Let's talk about our staircases. So we know most staircases that were installed earlier back in the 2000s and beyond, they are this honey gold color, or maybe they're even white. Let's update those. If you update the rest of your space but you do not address that, then that's like you putting on a nice outfit, but you didn't do your hair. That's what that looks like. You have to update these spaces. You can either sand them real light. I mean, it doesn't cost a lot for you to just sand them down and restain them, maybe a darker color, maybe a more neutral color. But you have to update your staircase wood. If you have wood now. You need to update those things so that it can flow into the space, and the transition from one space to the next, from upstairs to downstairs, would not look like you're walking into 2 completely different worlds. And I would say the same thing for any other wooden piece that you may have in your space. Maybe you can just take a light sanding and you can restain it. So let's update those, and you will see that your space will be starting to look like, yeah, I did that. Number 7. Let's look at our sinks. Now, I'm going to show you a sink that is in my powder room that I have not updated as yet. And every time I go into that powder room, it just sickens me to the stomach. Like, girl, when are you going to do this? Because it doesn't cost nothing to do it. Now, that sink is a top-mounted sink. It's round, it's porcelain, it's old. Okay? I will show you the sinks that I have updated in my home that I bought from Lowe's. And they were around like $200 some. It didn't cost much, so it's not going to cost me much to do my powder room. I just haven't gotten to that space yet. So let's update our sinks. in your kitchen, if you're planning to do any type of renovation in your kitchen, when you are doing your sink in the kitchen, if you're doing any, this is if you're doing any upgrade, because this can become very expensive. Use under mount sinks. Do not use top mount sinks. Use under mount sinks. And the same thing if you're doing the farmhouse sinks. Let everything be under mount. It's going to make your countertop look bigger, number one. It's going to make everything look more streamlined and clean. So when you're updating your sinks, try and update your sinks to where they are not top mounted, because it takes up more space and they can start to look dated pretty quickly. So definitely in the bathrooms, it probably will cost me about $215 to buy, because I'm buying the quartz, and it comes with the sink. The only thing I have to get is a faucet, and I can get a faucet for like $40-something if I choose to. So let's update our sinks and not be afraid to update these sinks. It may look like a big job, but it's not. If you want your space to be that space that you have dreamed on, you can do these things. Number 8. The number 8 thing that you can do to update your space is update your cabinet doors. Now, there's 2 ways to update your cabinet. There's more than 2. Yeah, there's 2. Let's only stick with 2. There are 2 ways that you can update your cabinet doors. 1, you can get doors rebuilt. Like I am doing some for myself. It just got too cold, so I stopped and I'll wait because I can't spray or anything. It's too cold to spray. So I'm waiting until it gets back warm and then I'll jump back on it. So I'm making new doors, but I'm keeping the frame of my cabinets. But I'm going to put new doors on the cabinets, which will definitely upgrade my space in my kitchen. Another thing that you can do if you don't want to change your cabinet doors is you can upgrade the knobs. Put more modern knobs on the cabinet and you will see how that space just lifts up just by changing the knobs. I tried that in my space. I put black knobs on and it really lifted up my kitchen. But as a designer, I was not happy. Why I was not happy? Because I knew that my doors were very traditional and my home is very contemporary and modern. So I knew that they just don't work. No matter how I try to make them work and be cheap, they weren't working. So I was like, you can build your own doors. You know how to, so go ahead and build your own doors. So that's what I'm doing. I'm building my own doors. So you guys will definitely, I think I have footage. I think I do have footage of me starting. I hope I do. I think I do. I just haven't posted any of it yet because I stopped. So once I start back, you guys will definitely see that video coming when it gets warmer, going closer more to spring. So update the knobs. Knobs are not expensive. You can get knobs on Amazon for like dirt cheap. So update your knobs on your cabinetry doors in your bathrooms, in your kitchen, and you will definitely see a big difference in your space. Since we were talking about knobs, another one, which is number 9, that you can do to update your space is update your locks on your doors. Okay, I did this last year. I updated all the locks on my doors upstairs and I changed it to a more modern, streamlined lock versus those silver locks that the doors normally, we normally have on our doors. I changed those out and I put some black modern locks. I got them from Amazon. I'm not going to list them because they were not good quality. And I ordered some with locks, with keys, and those keys could open all the other locks. So when I thought I was locking the kids out my bedroom, even baby Zyla was going for the key and opening up my door. And I was like, girl, how do you know what to go for a key? So I would not list those, but I would show a picture of them so that you guys can definitely see how to update your doors and make your space look brighter and more updated. The last thing, number 10, that you can do to upgrade your space is change out your lighting. If your home is anything like my home was, you have a lot of those TD bulbs lighting that we call them. You probably have a whole bunch of those in your home. Change them out. Lighting is not expensive, guys. I promise you. They're not expensive as people think they are. Change your lighting out. Put more updated, streamlined lighting in your space, and you will see a big difference, okay? Now, let's talk about lighting a little bit more in depth. When you are selecting lightings, I want you to remember a few things. Remember what space it's going into. Remember if it have any other lighting in that space. Remember if you want that light to be dimmable or not. Remember if you want to have LED or not. Most lighting nowadays is LED. Here's why I'm telling you these things. If you're adding lighting to a space like this chandelier that I have in my living room, I didn't have to worry about this one because it comes with the 3 setting of lighting that you would want. It has very warm, it has warm, and then it has cool. Well, it has cool, it has warm, it has cool, and then it has bright light. Okay, so my lighting that I have in my cabinetry, I always have them set on warm. Now, your living room do not need bright light. Your living room is normally a space where you want to come and relax. If you're coming into a space to relax, you do not want bright, like this bright light right here. If I was in here relaxing and not recording, I will turn this light off. But I just know that this light gives off such beautiful lighting for recording. I love to come down here sometimes and when I'm doing a sit down chat or educational video, I love to come into my living room and do it. Okay? So in a living room space, you don't want bright lighting. You want probably warm. I would not go below, let's say 35, 37 for the lighting. Or you want cool lighting, right? So you don't want bright light. That's not even true natural light. It's going to be too bright in your face in that space. So you don't want that in a living room. It's going to take away the coziness of that space. Most of the times our color palette in our rooms are of of warm tones. So when you add a bright light to that, it kind of take away that nice cozy feeling. In your kitchen, I would definitely use the same type of lighting, more so like say 4K in the kitchen area, in your dining room as well. In bathrooms, however, is where you want that bright white light. You want to be able to see the true color of the makeup you're putting on your face. So those are the spaces that you would definitely use a bright light, will be in your bathrooms. Throughout the rest of your house, you want your lighting to be cohesive. So you don't want to be using different temperature of light transferring into the same space. You don't want that. They're going to clash. It's going to look odd. It's going to bother you. You're going to be able to see that this is a bright white light and that light over there is warm. Don't do it. It's going to like just mess up your entire design. It's going to just mess up your whole mojo that you have going on. Okay? So that is one thing I want to tell you about lighting. We have a lot of lights out there now on the market where you could have a very simple light, but the light bulbs they have these pretty light bulbs now. I definitely have one in my dining room, and I would throw a picture of it up in here. And you can just change your space out. When I changed out my light in my dining room, that's when I saw that my space was completed. Before, it wasn't feeling completed to me at all. Okay? So these are some tips that you can use to update your space. I hope you use some of them. Take them into consideration. Don't feel like that they're such a hard challenge that you cannot get done, because all things are possible, okay? So update your space. Get rid of the clutter. See where you want to change things and move things around into your space. Make sure for your lighting that you always have task lighting, ambient lighting. Make sure that you account for all these different type of lightings in your space, and you'll be just fine. So guys, I will see you guys on my next video, and I'm trying to upload 2 videos a week for now. I'm trying to, and if it's not too much, I will definitely continue. So I will definitely see you guys on my next video, and remember that we are pressing forward. Philippians 3:14. Buy and design for life.